It's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the Village New Glarus Board meeting to order. Lynn, would you please do the roll call?
Sure. Michael Bell.
Present.
Henry Janish.
Present.
Peggy Cruz.
Present.
Tammy Newberry.
Present.
Chuck Phillipson.
Present.
Roger Trutman.
Present.
Lori Wertz.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. I'd look for an approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Tammy?
I'll second it.
Whoever.
Okay, we have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item 3, public appearances and citizens' comments. No debate will occur with the board on items introduced by citizens. Items will not be acted upon at this meeting, but will be referred to the proper staff or committee if action is required. And please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone on that would like to speak? Hearing none, we'll move on. I'd look for an approval of the consent agenda.
This is
Lori
Chuck.
Wertz, I'm making a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Fuck it, I'm just not gonna say
Peggy Cruz, I'll second.
it. That's great.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, old business. Consideration or discussion, Friends of New Glarus Parks. Chuck, you brought this up. Would you like to speak on this a little bit, please?
I think it's in your meeting notes. We just had a discussion at Parks meeting that it would be nice to have some further support and input if we could form a sort of a Friends of the Parks type organization for our six parks, just to hopefully, raise funds, do some work, et cetera, et cetera. We're just looking for the blessing of the village board and to go ahead and try and figure out a way to sort this out. I have been in.
Have I lost him?
I don't
I
know.
haven't heard a thing.
Has anybody else had a problem?
I hear Chuck.
No. I hear Chuck.
All right.
Peggy, I think you're going to have to leave the meeting and rejoin. You'll have to disconnect.
Okay, all right.
Well,
All right, keep going.
I'm just going to go ahead.
My computer's just spinning here, so I'll use my phone. I don't know how to, I'll have to force quit. Okay.
So I've been in contact with the head of the Monroe, the chairperson of the Monroe Friends of the Parks Committee, and I have discovered that there's various ways we may want to enter into this as far as fundraising and so on goes, and we're just looking for the approval of the village board, nothing formal, to go ahead and try and make this a reality. So that's really all I have. I don't think it requires any formal action.
I think it's a great idea. So you have my blessings.
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to require any use of insurance?
No. I mean, we don't know. These things all have to be ironed out. We have what do you call it, Drake? Recreational immunity.
Ideally, a friends group would eventually be a group in and of itself. For example, the Friends of the Library has organized themselves as a 501c3 so that they can actually take donations directly and then choose how they want to where they want to send those funds, how they want to coordinate with the village on certain projects. In lieu of that, this may just be, it may start out as simply someone who's willing to volunteer and request people, give directly to the village with a specific purpose in mind, to improve a certain park or improve a certain amenity of a certain park or something like that. So in its beginning stages, it may look something like that, but many friends groups eventually become their own, nonprofit entity that people can donate to independently, and then they coordinate with in this case, the village on how best they can assist. So as it gets started, that'll kind of hopefully flush itself out as the idea begins to take place. If we have people interested, and we can either assist them and put them in contact with other friends groups that they can learn from, or maybe they just want to assist in organizing volunteer groups to help out in village parks for some things, or specific fundraisers. It's tough to say what shape it might take in the beginning stages, but there's a couple different ways I think they would, someone interested in something like this would be able to help.
Thanks, Drake. Well said.
Okay, does anybody have any further discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to item 6, new board business. Item A, discussion consideration park use permit to Heidi Latch for Vets Park on 6/12/21.
Heidi Latch has submitted a park use application for the Veterans Park Shelter for a graduation party on June 12th from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Estimated attendance is 100 to 200 attendees.
Do you need
This
a
is
motion
Chuck.
on
Son of a-
Yes, a motion would be appropriate if desired.
I'm sorry, Chuck, I cut you off. What were you gonna say?
Still got everybody? Chuck, are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay. I guess, did this come in late?
It comes in after, it wasn't in time to go to a Parks and Recreation Committee meeting. This is one of the odd ones in that, in typical years, this application would not come before the committee or the board for approval. It would be a staff approval because it's not for an exclusive use of the park. And so that, I think people may be struggling to adapt to that requirement for this year. So when we receive them, if we take it directly to the village board when the event is taking place before the next Parks and Recreation Committee.
Okay, thank you, Drake.
This
So would
is
someone
Tammy. I'll
like to
make a motion.
on this?
This is Tammy. I'll make a motion to approve.
This is
Lori,
Henry,
I'll
I'll
second
second. Wait,
Lynn, did you get that?
I have a motion by Tammy and a second by Henry.
Okay. So we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, discussion consideration park use permit for Green County Ag Chest for Village Park gazebo on 6/13/21.
This is an application from Green County Ag Chest for use of the Village Park gazebo on Sunday, June 13th from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. For the Green County Dairy Queen crowning. Their estimated attendance is 30.
This is Tammy. I'll make a motion to approve.
It's Peggy, I'll
Gloria,
second.
whatever.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item C, discussion consideration park use permit for New Glarus Vision Youth Committee for gazebo and village park for crafting activities in June, July, and August. I believe this has been done for a couple of years now. Go ahead, Drake.
Mhm. Yep, so they're looking to use the Village Park gazebo for the youth crafting activity. It would be from 2 to 4 p.m. on the dates listed above, and they're estimating 30 attendees each time.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the park use permit for the Vision Youth Committee for the gazebo for crafting activities in the summer, which would include June, July, and August.
Michael Bell will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item D, consideration discussion removal of sand volleyball court and replacement with grass volleyball court. Drake?
The village board included funds in the 2021 budget for the removal of the sand volleyball court in Village Park. It would be replaced with grass. Director Cockcroft has indicated his staff is capable of replacing the current court with grass at a savings of approximately $2,000. Staff is seeking confirmation the village board would like to proceed with the removal. It'll cost approximately, Director Cockcroft estimated $1,800 in materials. A quote we had received from a contractor, we received a couple, the lowest one was in excess of $3,800, which is where the $2,000 in savings is derived from.
I'm going to go ahead, this Peggy, and approve the removal of the sand volleyball court and replace it with the grass volleyball court, all put together and replaced by our own public works crew.
Hey, I got one question. Would be mine. If this is happening because nobody uses that sand volleyball court, or has there
And
been
the
a
maintenance
request?
has been,
I'll try and answer it. It was first risen, it came up during the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting in years past, and it is largely because of lack of use. There just hasn't been, requests for use. Many of the leagues that used to participate and use the court have gone to other venues for sand volleyball. And so in the 2021 budget, on the recommendation of the Parks and Recreation Committee, the board did include the funds for removal in the 2021 budget.
I thought we had discussed that the grass would be much easier to maintain than the sand court too.
Yeah.
Correct. In order to properly maintain the sand volleyball court, we would most likely want to get into a however many years to replace that sand. Director Chris Rear has stated it's in a tough location to maintain underneath a lot of the trees, so sticks, there's always sticks falling into it. It requires a significant amount of weeding and whatnot to keep it in good shape. So those were all the different reasons why it was ultimately determined to remove it. So we're just making sure that that's still the village board's desire.
This is Chuck. I'm just wondering if Henry Janish's original question was speaking to the point of is it even worth doing this? Was that,
That was where I was going with it, but I just wasn't sure if I was, I was debating whether or not to even have it at all,
right?
but I don't know.
So if we even have it, we just put up a net, is that it?
Put up a net. Chris could paint lines out there to delineate the court. If it didn't continue not to get use, it could easily be simply a green space in the future.
Then we get a,
Ultimately, what I'm seeing here is we're going to turn it into a green space, and we're going to have a net up there, and nobody's going to use it because nobody wants to play volleyball on the grass. And then we're just going to take down the net eventually. And it's,
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
ultimately we're condemning this to be taken away. So
Yeah. Hey, Joe, you're going to do the work on this, right? It makes more sense just to take, if you're going to eventually, just a strong inkling that it would be taken out. I mean, it would save a considerable amount of money to do it all at once, would it not?
Yes, what we would do is we would go in there, we would pull the poles out, we would take all the sand out because the sand is actually really deep, and we would stockpile the sand in case we ever needed it for fill or anything like that. And then we would have quads come in with nice dirt. We'll put some dirt in ahead of time, and then we'll take nice shredded dirt and put it on top, and we'll seed it, mat it. And
Oh, you're not going to use fill? You're not going to just put some fill?
we'll put a little bit of fill in it, because we don't want to spend a ton on black dirt, and we
Yeah.
have that. But we
Yeah.
just can't put that on top of that sand because the sand is not a moisture holder. It'll just filter down through it. So we'll take it out little ways, and then we'll backfill it in. And
Well, do you think it's a why? I mean, if you're going to get rid of it anyways, I mean, I do agree. The reasons people don't like to play on the sand are still there. If it's grass, there's sticks and everything falling down. All those sticks are still going to be in there, poking them in the feet.
People don't have the respect, and they put stuff in the sand, and next thing you know, there's glass in there, and it's really weedy and stuff like that. And it's more of an eyesore than anything, especially when we have organizations that have like there's people going back and forth to the fest house and that. It's just an eyesore, and it'd be a good thing to get rid of.
Joe, this is Peggy. Did we have anybody playing on that last year?
No.
Then I don't, why bother with lines or any of that? Just, just don't even bother. Leave it.
Well, are there any arguments to keep it? Like, were there arguments made to keep this thing?
I personally would make arguments because I remember in high school, we never had volleyball. So we would get a group together and we went down there and we started our own Monday night volleyball. We had a little gas griller that we'd cook food on, and it was a happy little memory that I have with it. Obviously, if people aren't using that, if that's not the case, then it's once again, it's an argument of do we want to try to, because it is, I agree with everyone, it's an eyesore. It is really depressing for me to drive by there and see it in the state that it is. I cherish that memory. I like that memory. It'd be cool if somebody else could share a similar memory like that in the future, but I don't think it's at the state right now. I don't even think it has lines out there, the little cable lines, so you know what's in or out. So even right now, we're not looking at somebody would just randomly being able to get in there.
Yeah. The ebb and flow of things being popular, especially activities. I don't know. Do you have an argument for why we wouldn't just get rid of the whole thing altogether?
I always like to look at things on both sides of the coin, and I agree with you guys that we can easily just get rid of it and call it quits and be done with it. But it'd be kind of nice to put a little money into it and spruce it up and have it still there and available. I've heard that there are young children that use it like a little play sandbox area too. So that might be a memory that some people have. but yeah, you don't really want glass in that sand pit though either. You know, I wouldn't want to dive for a volleyball and then land in a broken bottle of beer. You know, so
Well, I think, this is Peggy again, I think having it removed is going to pretty much ruin your season of volleyball players. You could very well leave the posts up and give people the indication that it's now a volleyball court that could potentially be used on grass or played on grass. And then if no one, you know, once it's in place and if no one requests it, then the poles go. You know, it could be
I thought Joe said he needed to take the poles out to get the sand and stuff out. Joe?
Yeah, I guess our plan was, is to take everything out.
oh, well
And
then,
make
yeah.
it green space. So if we do that, I mean, that way no kid is running, not paying attention, runs into a steel pole, but
Oh, yeah.
and the net hasn't been there. As long as I've been here, I think it was Randy Dreger and his wife Sherry that actually bought the net one year and put it up there. Then after that, there was a net that mysteriously appeared, and I know Kristen put it up. So yeah, ever since I've been here, it hasn't been maintained. And it would be more green space, I guess, in the future, and we could always put something there in the future, maybe. You know, it's a pretty good spot for, you know, maybe a bigger playground. I don't know.
you know what, if the Parks Department would like to entertain the idea of moving it, or you know, getting a sand volleyball court and having it over by where the tennis courts are, over at that Veterans Park, you know, I feel like that would be a good compromise, because then you don't have those trees that would have sticks falling down, and it's also close to the school district here too. And then we could just go ahead and close out this discussion here in regards to this location, and just say take everything out and you know, fill it up with grass and use it for green space.
That's a good point, Mike. I think in line with that, I'm going to make a motion that we remove the volleyball court from the village park, and Joe and the crew will just grass it in and make it part of the green space, and any further discussion of volleyball cart can be brought to the Parks Committee. That's probably a convoluted motion, so to clarify that, I'm going to move that we remove the volleyball court from the village park.
I'll second. Or it's Henry, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, consideration discussion resolution 21-07, appointment of limited term public works laborer. Jake.
Director Cockcroft is recommending Roby Blankenship to be appointed to the Public Works LTE position. If anyone has questions for him, he's available to answer. He comes to us after a career in law enforcement with Mount Horeb.
So I guess my only question is this a ongoing LTE position? Is this one we've always had?
It is. It was previously filled by John. Essentially, what happens is each year we choose whether or not to renew for essentially the summer LTE position. So it's budgeted each and every year.
Okay.
This is Tammy. I'll make a motion to approve Roby Blankenship for this position.
Lori Wertz, I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion?
Well,
Hearing
just
none,
in
all
case,
in favor?
just to be sure, Jeff, you want this, right?
Joe, it would be Joe.
So,
Oh, it's Joe.
Yeah,
All right.
this is
It's
not
for
a
the-
police, this is not a police position.
Yeah, now you
I was
was
just
confused when I
stating
heard it.
where
I'm
he-
like, wait a minute, I guess this must be another part-time guy. All right.
And we're just gonna take over everything. We're bringing in our own police department. No,
Sounds good. I just want to make sure.
no, Jeff, was it okay? Did he pass his background check?
Everything's good.
All right.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
uh,
All right.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, President's Report. Return to in-person village board meetings. Drake and I have discussed this quite a few times, and we feel that the next meeting, which is the 15th of June, I believe, we'd like to do in-person board meetings. Masks would be optional. If you wanted to wear it, fine. But we'd like to see us move forward and get back to person meetings.
This is Chuck.
Yes? Go ahead, Chuck.
I'm totally in favor of that, except for one thing. I would, and I don't know, maybe you've discussed this. I would rather see this in the community room than the village board meeting room due to the close quarters. I really don't feel comfortable being elbow to elbow with people, even though I'm vaccinated. I'm sure everyone else is. We don't know where we're at with this COVID thing. And I wouldn't see any problem with doing this where we could space out. That's it.
My only concern about that room, Chuck, is the acoustics in there are so terrible.
Yeah.
I guess if it's just us village board members, it wouldn't be bad, but if we had like a big public hearing or something, which a lot of times we have them back there anyway, but it's just bad back there.
Well, I guess that's my point. We don't know who's going to show up for board meetings. We don't know how many people are going to be in that room. We don't know where we're at yet with COVID. We're all hoping to open things up and let her rip, but I would be very uncomfortable sitting in that boardroom elbow to elbow. I don't do it now. You know, having an alternative. I know the acoustics are terrible, but I'd rather have to say huh a few times than, you know, worry about the other thing.
Yeah.
Okay, Chuck, I guess we can give that a try and see how it goes. And I mean, we've had meetings back there before. Maybe we'll just have to talk a little louder and a little slower and it'll work. Jake, are we gonna have a Zoom option back there? No, it'd be totally just face to face. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we have limited capabilities for a hybrid, but I don't think it would work in that room.
So.
Well, if a hybrid would work in the other room, then we would have the option, right?
Yeah, we did a little bit of a test with it for board of review.
Right.
The difficulty is, you know, we'd probably have to pass around the speaker phone to whoever would be speaking at the time to ensure if a member of the public was listening in through Zoom, or a board member was participating virtually, that they would still be able to hear. If you recall, you know, there was some difficulty in the beginning of board and review hearing Roger when he was a little bit further away from the phone, but when we moved it closer to him, it was people said they were able to hear. So we could experiment with, you know, with something like that. But I just don't think that the chords and the picking up of the sound in the community room might work. But we can try different things as we go and kind of learn along the way.
All right, how about this? How about if we just ease into it and we go in person in the community room for the June 15th meeting, see how it works. If it's seems unworkable due to the acoustics of that room, we have a further discussion either at that time or at the next meeting, and then decide whether to go back to the confines of the board meeting room. Excuse me, did I say something?
So do we need a motion or anything, or just make it?
I'll make a
discussion?
motion. I'll make a motion to go back to the conference room, see how that works at the next meeting.
In the community room?
Yeah, sure. Community room.
I'll second that.
I think it's a good idea, Chuck.
Well, I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Guess we'll see you
Is there
guys in
anything else from
person.
the board?
Look forward
If
to
not,
seeing
we are
everybody.
adjourned.
Bye, guys.
I'll see you all in 2 weeks.